Minecarft's unimaginable success has undoubtedly inspired countless clones trying to replicate its formula, hoping to capture even a fraction of the magic that made it one of the most popular games of all time. Many have tried with varying levels of success, and yet even Microsoft itself has experimented with the game's formula, branching it into entirely new genres under the same familiar name. One of those spin-offs, and maybe the most popular one amongst them, is Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons took the blocky aesthetic of Minecraft we all know and love and turned it into a dungeon crawler filled with new mobs, blocks, weapons, and many more features alike. Some, if not many of these features feel like they'd fit right into the main game, and a few of them already have. Take the mace, and more recently, the spear for example. Both of these weapons first appeared in Minecraft Dungeons, and ever since they were added to the main game, I've been wondering, what could be next? So in this video I've gathered some of the best features from Minecraft Dungeons, and reimagined how they could work inside regular Minecraft, with a brand new purpose. Stay tuned because the features only get crazier from here. Starting off with a simple but really effective feature, the Leeching Enchant. Now, there are plenty of interesting enchantments in Minecraft Dungeons, but this one in particular feels like the most vanilla friendly while still being exciting enough for me to include. The Leeching Enchant grants the player a small amount of health when they defeat a mob, with the amount of healing based on the mob's total HP. There would be 3 tiers of the enchantment, each increasing the percentage of health you recover. The first tier would grant you 5% of the mob's HP, scaling up to 10% for leeching free, meaning that killing a zombie with leeching free would restore about 2 HP or 1 whole heart. And if you're ambitious enough, you could go from half a heart to full health if you manage to take down a warden. And while adding a brand new enchantment is nice and all, it would be a disappointment not to have a new weapon to complement the mix. That's why I added Sickles. We already pretty much have a weapon for most niches in the game. Swords for short range, spears for long range melee, tridents for short and long ranged attacks, and maces for strong vertical hits. Yet the sickle introduces a brand new niche. Since we don't really have any capacity for dual wielding 2 melee weapons in the game, the sickle would essentially be the first weapon with a forced dual wielding property. The sickle would let the player perform quick successive attacks to pull off better combos against opponents. They'd come in all material variants from wood to netherite and could be crafted like this. Each variant would also deal half the attack damage of a sword made out of the same material, going from 2 damage for wooden sickles to 4 for netherite. While the faster attack speed and potential for combos sounds great, it comes with the downside that you wouldn't be able to hold a shield or anything else in your offhand. But the sickle would reward skillful players. If you manage to land 4 successful strikes in a row, the 5th hit would deal 50% more damage, and the 6th would deal double damage, rewarding you for maintaining clean, consistent combos. But having all these weapons in the game, it would be a shame not to have a way to test them out more effectively. That's why I added the target dummy. The target dummy is the perfect way to test out your weapons to their maximum potential. All you need to make one is a single hay bale and a pumpkin, and just like that, it's summoned. The dummy itself can't be destroyed by regular hits, so the only way to remove it is by mining the block underneath. Once you do, it drops its materials back, letting you move it around whenever you want. The target dummy adds a simple yet incredibly practical way to test your weapons, enchants, and even potions. When you hit it, it shows a number that indicates exactly how much damage you've dealt. You can test how much damage you do when spamming attacks versus landing crits, how your sharpness 5 sword compares to fire aspect, or even how much damage smite does against undead mobs, with separate indicators for regular mobs and undead ones. The coolest part is that you can equip the dummy with armor, letting you see how different gears affect your weapon's damage output. You can even set up moving targets for the perfect archery practice range. But perhaps one of the most unique features is that the target dummy emits a redstone signal based on the damage you deal. Imagine creating a door that only opens for someone with the sharpness 5 netherite sword, or a password protected entrance that requires the right damage combo from different weapons to unlock it. The possibilities would be endless, and honestly this might be one of the most practical additions to combat in Minecraft. And yet the target dummy has another completely unrelated use, but to get to that I'll have to introduce the next feature, the Raven. Now in Minecraft Dungeons, the Raven mostly serves an aesthetic purpose, but in the base game, there's a lot more that could be done with it. Minecraft has very little life in its skies, phantoms aren't exactly the best representation of life, and parrots, while fun, only spawn in jungles, and even then, they don't really fly around in the sky to make your world feel alive. The Raven would fix that entirely. Ravens are incredibly intelligent, curious, and cautious creatures. They are naturally attracted to anything shiny, whether it's gold, diamonds, or even emeralds. They might also be drawn to into players' shiny armor, and especially enchanted gear. But their curiosity doesn't stop there. Ravens interact with things they find interesting, pressing buttons, opening chests and doors, ringing bells, or even poking at note blocks. Basically, if you can interact with the block, there's a chance a raven will mess with it. And yes, that includes crops. Ravens may occasionally swoop down onto your wheat farm and nibble at your crops. They won't destroy them, but each peck will reduce a crop's growth stage, similar to how rabbits eat carrots. To keep them away, you can simply run toward them to scare them off. Or more effectively, place a target dummy near your farm. The dummy will discourage ravens from landing too close, acting as a sort of scarecrow. But of course, not every raven has to be a nuisance. You can actually domesticate them. All it takes is something shiny to catch their attention. A gold nugget on the ground, or even you wearing golden armor to spark their curiosity. Once they're interested, slowly crouch toward them and feed them a sweet berry. If they accept, the raven will begin to trust you, and you can stop crouching. To really make use of your new feathered companion, you'll need a perch glove. Crafted from 2 pieces of leather. Right-click your tamed raven while holding the glove and it will perch on your hand. The best part is, once perched, you can actually train the raven to perform certain commands. Point at an item on the ground and right-click, and it will swoop toward the item to grab it and bring it back to you. Hover your crosshair over any interactable block and it will briefly glow white, indicating that the raven can perform a task on that block. Right-click while aiming at it and the raven will fly over and interact with the block. By feeding your raven a sweet berry after it performs an action, you can reinforce that behavior. Over time, it starts to remember what you taught it, repeating that action whenever you're nearby. So if you wanted to ring a bell when you return home or press a button to start your farm, your clever raven got you covered. Though the raven isn't like other pets that just teleport to you. If you want to bring your raven along, you'll need to hold something shiny, and it will fly toward you when it sees it. Alternatively, you can use the perch glove to call it over from long distances or carry it around. In a way, the raven is a reimagined version of what the copper golem was supposed to be when it was first introduced, that being a curious little creature that presses copper buttons at random. But unlike the copper golem, the raven takes the original idea and expands on it, adding more depth and purpose to the mechanic. But while the raven adds new content to the skies, the tropical slime would now populate the oceans. Tropical slimes in the Dungeons game have this cute little texture with fish swimming inside them, and while that's just a visual detail in Dungeons, I decided to turn it into an actual feature. These slimes spawn across warm ocean biomes, usually sitting quietly at the bottom of the sea, and once they aggro at a mob, they can float up and move freely through the water. The interesting part about the tropical slime is that it can consume other aquatic mobs to grow in size, and when killed, it releases whatever creature it had trapped inside. Upon death, it also releases an oxygen bubble that resets your drowning bubbles and even gives you water breathing for a short period. The tropical slime comes in 3 sizes, small, medium, and big, each with a different number of slots for holding mobs. Small slimes can hold 1, medium 2, and big ones up to 4. Every ocean mob, including the player, has a size value ranging from 1 to 5. Small slimes can consume mobs with a size of 1, medium ones up to 2, and big ones up to 4. The only underwater mob that has a size value of 5 is the Elder Guardian, making it the only ocean creature a tropical slime can't consume. Mobs like the cod, tropical fish, and tadpoles have a size of 1. Salmons and frogs have 2, pufferfish have 3, and larger ones like the nautilus, guardian, dolphin, drowned, squids, and even the player all have a size of 4. Tropical slimes can also merge, 2 small ones forming a medium and 2 medium ones forming a big slime. And depending on what they consume, they can gain unique abilities. If they eat a regular fish, they can spit them out at the player. The bigger the fish, the more damage it deals. If they are out of fish ammo, they will quickly float away to seek out more fish they can reload to shoot you with. Consuming a pufferfish gives them a poisonous shield that infects you if you get too close. Squids give them the ability to blind you if you attack it. Dolphins grant them Dolphin's Grace, letting them dash around the water at crazy speeds. Guardians give them the deadly Guardian Laser. And if they consume a nautilus, they gain the Pulse ability that pushes everything around them away, making them hard to approach. The logic behind the nautilus is that the creature moves by pushing water behind it to propel itself forward, so the tropical slime mimics that behavior and pushes you away instead. Every encounter with a tropical slime would be a surprise. You never really know if a large one is filled with fish waiting to be launched toward you, or if it's going to shoot you with its Guardian Laser. Defeating a tropical slime will now give you tropical slime balls. You can then use 9 tropical slime balls to craft a tropical slime block. This block acts similar to water, but with the added difference of being solid. Think of it as a contained water block that doesn't spill or flow. It can be pushed around with pistons, meaning you can finally move water-like blocks. It reduces fall damage and lets you move through it freely. Just like your swimming underwater. You can even use it for aquariums, placing fish or plants inside without needing the added thickness for a glass window for your aquarium. But the tropical slime wouldn't be the only addition to the oceans. Since we already have the zombie equivalent for the seas in the form of a drowned, we should also have a skeleton variant called the Drenched. The Drenched would spawn underwater, and similar to how a zombie turns into a drowned, skeletons that stay submerged for long enough would eventually turn into a Drenched. Unlike zombies, skeletons don't drown, so instead of suffocating, they'd simply transform over time after remaining underwater for long enough. But you might ask yourself, how would this work? I mean, the Drenched wouldn't be able to shoot a bow underwater since arrows don't really travel properly there. That's right, and that's exactly why the Drenched would wield a brand new weapon called the Anchor. Similar to how a drowned can rarely spawn with a trident, the Drenched would occasionally spawn holding an anchor, and upon defeat, there's a small chance for it to drop. The anchor is unlike any other weapon in the game. It's heavy and slow when swung, but its real strength comes from its unique ability. By right-clicking, you can launch the head of the anchor forward connected by a string. You can even extend the range through a special enchantment that increases its reach. So how does it work? You can shoot it at mobs to pull them toward you, dealing damage in the process. As an added bonus, it also works on dropped items, letting you pull them in from a distance. And now, this weapon is in the hands of the Drenched. Just imagine the terrifying sight of a Drenched wielding an anchor while riding a zombie Nautilus, possibly even more terrifying than a drowned with a trident. But the Drenched is far from being the only new mob variant in the game. While there are plenty of inconsistencies among block variants in Minecarft, the same can be said about mobs. The skeleton now has a regular variant, a swamp, winter, nether variant, the new desert variant, and even the new underwater one, so it only makes sense to give zombies the same level of variety. The first new zombie variant is the Jungle Zombie, which, as the name suggests, spawns exclusively in jungle biomes. At first glance, it behaves just like a regular zombie, but when challenged, it releases poisonous clouds, making close combat risky. Similarly, the Snow Zombie spawns in snowy biomes, often accompanied by a stray. The Snow Zombie attacks by throwing snowballs that give slowness to the player before moving in for melee attacks, which, as you can imagine, becomes a lot more dangerous when it's not alone. To make things even worse, both the Snow Zombie and the stray could occasionally spawn riding a zombie polar bear, turning this trio into a truly deadly one. It could also fit in nicely with the new Mounts of Mayhem drop. But one feature in particular that Minecraft Dungeons is known for is its vast variety for Illager variants, and the one I decided to add is the Illager Chef. Now you might ask yourself, why the Illager Chef out of all the possible Illager types? The one mob that seems like the most boring variant among them all. You might have a point there, but the Illager Chef comes with a whole new game mechanic attached to it. The Illager Chef also looks pretty goofy, and honestly, I'd love to have it in the game even if it fills a small, almost insignificant role. It would now have a designated room inside Woodland Mansions, the kitchen. The Illager Chef provides all Illagers with food, and you can see it carrying around a ladle, which it uses both to cook and to attack if you happen to interrupt its work. When killed, it has a high chance of dropping this ladle, which you can then use to make soups of your own. So yes, I'm adding an entirely new soup making mechanic to the game. Just bear with me. Place a cauldron on top of a fire source, you can even set it directly over a campfire for a neat one-block setup, fill it with water, and you're ready to start cooking. The cauldron accepts up to 4 ingredients. When you right-click with an ingredient, it will appear visually inside the cauldron, so you can keep track of what you've added. You can then remove ingredients by right-clicking with your empty hand. At this point, the choice is yours. Throw in any raw ingredients you want, meat, vegetables, or even any special items like golden apples, carrots, or a potion. Once you're satisfied with your recipe, right-click the cauldron with the ladle to start stirring. Once the cooking begins, there's no turning back. After a short while, the ingredients blend together, changing the color of the liquid based on what you've put inside. Congratulations, you've just made soup. Now all you need is a bowl and you've got yourself a delicious stew. To make this process actually worth it, bowls can now stack up to 16, and the soup itself combines the properties of all of its ingredients, keeping your hunger filled for a long time. Special ingredients like golden apples will carry their effects into the stew, and the same goes for potions, meaning you can create mixes that give both status effects and hunger restoration in one meal. This new soup making feature might be a niche addition, but it's a fun one, perfect for players who love experimenting with ingredients and discovering the perfect concoction. And yes, the Illager Chef also drops a random soup upon death, but the soup making process can also go very wrong if you try to mix ingredients that were never meant to be mixed together. If you add 2 different potions into the same cauldron, it will become unstable, quickly overflow, and then explode, leaving behind a puddle of purple goo. Out of that goo, pink goo slimes emerge, carrying the very potion effects you try to combine. If the potions you mixed were harmful ones, the slimes will inflict those same effects on you when they hit, but if the potions were positive, those effects will instead apply to the goo slimes themselves. This mechanic serves as a warning toward the forbidden rule that you should never, under any circumstances, mix two potions together. So now you can accidentally create your own back alley science experiment gone wrong right in your Minecraft house. Another feature the Dungeons game is well admired for is its Enderman lineup, featuring several unique and eerie Enderman designs, and the one I find the most interesting is the Endersent. If you thought the regular Enderman was tall, the Endersent takes that to a whole new level. Standing at a towering 6 blocks tall, or 2 Endermen stacked on top of each other, the Endersent has the potential to be one of the most terrifying enemies in the entire game. It primarily spawns in the end, but just like regular Endermen, it can also rarely appear in other dimensions. The Endersent has a glowing Eye of Ender mounted on its chest, and while it slowly wanders when idle, that eye is far from being just a decorative detail. It follows your every move. The Endersent itself is neutral, but contrary to the regular Enderman that gets aggressive if you look into its eyes, the Endersent's chest eye detects movement. You'll see its pupils shift around as it scans for potential targets. If you're within its vicinity and move too much, the eye becomes suspicious, and you'll receive a notice notifying you that the eye is observing you. From that moment, the only way to stay undetected is to freeze completely. The eye only tracks movement, so if you stand still long enough, you'll eventually get another notice that it's no longer observing you, at which point you're safe to move. But if you move even slightly during that phase, the eye will instantly detect you, triggering the Endersent's aggression. Once it detects you, the Endersent teleports away, leaving you on edge, because you know it's out there about to strike. Moments later, it reappears to attack with its massive hammer-shaped hands, smashing the ground with both its arms and dealing heavy damage. It also has a special move, the teleport smash. The Endersent raises one arm toward its target before teleporting behind them, smashing both arms down with immense force and dealing devastating damage. Upon death, the Endersent has a high chance of dropping its eye, meaning that you technically don't have to go to the Nether to complete the game, even though the difficulty of the Endersent is not really worth it for the single Eye of Ender it can drop. And while the Endersent exudes this eerie aura of fear, the Corrupted Beacon radiates a completely different kind of energy. The Corrupted Beacon in the Dungeons game is a purple beacon that lets you shoot a deadly purple ray toward enemies, but that original purpose of blasting mobs with laser beams doesn't quite fit the tone of vanilla Minecraft in my opinion. That's why I completely reinvented its purpose. Instead of being a weapon you can wield, the Corrupted Beacon is now a weapon that monsters can use. You'll find them placed around certain structures, reinforcing specific mobs in the area. For example, a Corrupted Beacon inside the Nether Fortress might only affect blazes by boosting their stats and making them faster, stronger, and far more dangerous. If you want to safely explore these areas, you'll first need to seek out and destroy the beacons to disable their effects. Luckily, that's not too hard to do, as each one emits an obvious glowing purple ray, making them easy to spot from a distance. There can be multiple beacons around a single fortress, each one empowering a different mob, so you will have to plan your approach carefully. Destroying a corrupted beacon rewards you with a generous amount of XP, anywhere from 50 to 100, making it even more rewarding than breaking a spawner. Another feature from the Dungeons game I've added is the clam, which I've extensively talked about in this video, so go check it out if you want. Tell me in the comments which features you would love to see added to the game the most, and whether you like my interpretations on these concepts and what you change about them. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, or sharing it with a friend. It really helps the channel out. And if you haven't already, check out my previous videos where I rework a bunch of other Minecraft features and give them a brand new purpose. I now have channel memberships, so you can support the channel if you wish to do so, and if you subscribe to the smiley tier, you can have your skin featured in the video. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye!